Hey there, data nerds. It's time for another Stadia number snapshot. I'm Jack Deslip, your host. So, what I want to talk about today is some of the activity metrics that we've been capturing in the Stadia Stats project. So, if you go over to stadiastats.com and you click on metrics, you can go down to miss activity. And so it's called miscellaneous because it's basically just a hodgepodge of different metrics that we've been tracking here. Um, the the first of the ones that I want to talk about is Destiny 2's Stadia daily users. So you can kind of track this over time. We started kind of tracking it ourselves a little over a year ago. You can see, I guess, like the fidelity or like the frequency, I guess, of the data increased around October of 2020. But we did have some historical data from other people who have kind of posted in different either news articles or on Reddit or in blog posts or something like that. And you can see that it's been over about 5,000 users a day who are playing Destiny 2 on Stadia for the last year or so, and it's been got a nice kind of bump up over the holidays here. It's interesting to put this into context of how this compares to other platforms. So if we look at the Steam player base or the PC player base, I guess, you can see that we are about anywhere between like 1% and 4% over time. It's kind of been trending up over the last year. So this is number of Stadia players per 1,000 PC players. So 25 here would be like 2.5%. And it's been kind of sticking around this area for the last this last couple months between 2 and 3%. Another interesting metric is looking at the Stadia blog post likes over time. So we've tracked this starting from about April 2020 all the way to now. You can see it seems to be about trending up a little bit. The number of thumbs up or likes on those blog posts seems to be going up a little bit over time. We also track the views. The views are a little bit trickier to interpret. Well, let me click here again. And they're anywhere, I guess, between like a few thousand to 100,000 for some of the most popular blog posts, typically where they're announcing some kind of deal on the Stadia Premier Edition are the most popular ones. Views over time seems to be pretty flat, but it's sort of an interesting metric because even some of these old blog posts are growing in views over time as people like just find those posts from Google or something like that. Maybe if you Google Stadia and then a game name, you might end up with one of these old blog posts coming up in your search results. So again, still kind of interesting. It's interesting, like the fidelity of data or like the richness of data that you can collect about the Stadia community. Some other like oddball type metrics that we've been collecting are looking at the Google Stadia Twitter and taking the top post each week in terms of likes and just counting those likes over time. It's it's kind of hard to say exactly what this metric means because some of these top posts are just random comments about the world or about the gaming environment or something like that. But anyway, this for whatever it's worth, this is a plot of that metric over time. We also do the same thing for Facebook and Instagram. I won't click on each one of those. But one of the more interesting ones that we've really kind of picked up recently is the amount of players who are participating in like weekly events in different games. We started doing this a couple months ago with the Crew 2, and then we been doing it with Rayman Legends, and we're about to add new data for Wreckfest next week. So these are pretty interesting. So like the Crew 2, you can see that in the live summit, there's somewhere around 800 or so on average participants a week. The Rayman Legends weekly challenge is sort of interesting in that it's a pretty new game on Stadia, and you have to actually progress a little bit into the game to unlock the weekly challenge. And so we're seeing like maybe somewhere on the order of between 100 and 200, maybe around 150 people participating in this activity. Because of the daily challenges you can actually unlock earlier, some of those actually have even more players than the weekly challenge, depending on the day. So that's a little counterintuitive, but it has to do with like how early you can unlock the challenge, I think. I wanted to quickly show an update on some of my favorite metrics to track, which are the game leaderboards. So if you go to the metrics and game leaderboards area, you can see this plot here. Of course, this top line here is a Sniper Elite 4 leaderboard, which I still kind of think is pretty interesting because, despite it being off of Pro or like no longer claimable as part of the Pro subscription for basically a year, it's still getting about 20 new names every day on average. So now it's up to close to the 232,000 range. Of course, this one right here is the one I've been tracking a lot recently, which is Dirt 5. So if we narrow in on that, you can see it passed 100K, as I talked about last week. It's now sitting at about 108,000. Still growing right around 1,000 per day. It dipped a little bit below 1,000 as we got back into the work and school schedule in January, but still growing at a pretty quick rate. And then I wanted to highlight one more, which is again Rayman Legends, a fairly new game on Stadia, just over a month old at this point, and it's pretty cool to see that over 5,000 Stadians have played enough of it to get onto the global leaderboard. So as of this afternoon, it was 5,075. So very cool there. I think that's definitely a worthy game. It'll be interesting to keep tracking that one over time as more and more Stadians go and check it out. That's it for this week. I'll see you next week on another edition of the Stadia Number Snapshot.